those real emotions with not letting that overwhelm him and letting and him still just doing the job the way that it needs to be done. And it's a challenging thing, man, for a 32-year-old in his very first job to deal with, but he's kind of weathering it as best he can, I think.
Yeah, and think about it this way. Rick Adelman couldn't make it work here, and Rick Adelman's a great coach. Tom Thibodeau, for all the criticism he received, as difficult he made it on people around him, was a very accomplished coach, and it didn't come close to working here. I have another tangent on that subject. I do want to thank sodastick.com. If you hear this on Martin Luther King Day, they have their Happy Hockey Day Minnesota special for one more day. Use the coach HDM, that's as in Hockey Day Minnesota, HDM 2019 for 15% off the entire Minnesota hockey collection. Of course, you always have the standing deal with us. Use You Betcha, as in this show, to get free shipping on any size order. I have used it. I have bought their stuff. They do a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of special runs, a lot of basketball stuff, but really any sport, including a lot of new Gopher stuff with the Axes Back logo, or T-shirt, hat, all that kind of stuff. They have artwork, everything from the Axes Back to the 1980 championship, the gold medal miracle, to the John Randall artwork. They even have artwork of a bunch of Minnesota sports fans standing at a Metrodome trough. If you really want to get up close and personal with the Minnesota sports experience, that's what they do. A lot of cool North Star foamy trucker hats. They have everything. Check out sodastick.com. What you're saying about Ryan not wanting to be the center of attention reminds me of a conversation I had with Dave Hyde, my friend who's a columnist in the Fort Lauderdale newspaper. He covered the whole, he's covered Eric Spoelstra his entire career. And, like all of us, Dave will go to these scrums and try to get the coach to say something. And one time he thought he was asking something. It was about kind of a charitable thing or a good works type thing. And he was trying to get Spoelstra just give him a comment. And he pulled him aside afterward. He said, "Eric, this isn't, I'm not asking anything that could possibly hurt you. I'm asking you a purely positive question. Why won't you even answer that?" And he said, "Because it's not about me. It's not about me. This is all about LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Bosch. It's never going to be about me in any way." And that can be a very frustrating stance for people in our business, but it's pretty shrewd.
Yeah, that's survival in the NBA. I mean, especially in the NBA, where it is an absolutely player-dominated league. Players will get you hired and get you fired. You need them on your side. You need them to know that you're in their corner and that you're doing everything for them that can be possible. That may seem like it's selfish. That may seem like it's you may hold your nose at that and say, "Well, I want the days of Bobby Knight throwing chairs and you're ruling as a dictator."
Of course, when Bobby Knight was throwing chairs, Magic Johnson was getting Paul Westhead fired.
That's exactly right. It's a tale as old as time. But it's even more so apparent now. Like there's nobody left in the NBA that has that approach. Like it's untenable. And so the way to kind of survive over the long term in this is to stay away from that sort of stuff. And I mean, the last thing that Ryan needs right now is for him to be branded some kind of boy genius and look at what's happening and he's got this team to play better and stuff, even though that hasn't happened. But I think Brad Stevens the same way. Like he has really tried to fight the narrative that he's this basketball savant and that he can take anybody and make them into players. And so with so much ego in the NBA, that is just imperative when it comes to long-term survival. And Ryan understands this. Like I was told that, that leading into that first Dallas game where it was his first game at home, they did a little video for him and stuff like that. He didn't want any of that. And he's like, "Look, this is not about me. Can we stop this?" And rightfully so, the Timberwolves kind of marketing side said, "Hey, look, Ryan, we know this. We get what you want and we understand it, but you also got to understand, man, like we just got through a ordeal with Tom Thibodeau, and the fans see you as an extension of your father. So just give us this one day. Let's get through it, and then we can kind of shift gears. But it's a challenge for Ryan, even more so than it was a challenge for like Spoelstra and even Brad Stevens in some respects, because there is such a visceral connection that fans have with that family. And a lot of it, quite frankly, is just because of the way that it ended as much as anything else, unfortunately. And so there's the banner hanging in the rafters. There is also the way that it has gone poorly since he left. And so there is just this sort of yearning for the savior. And so it would be hard for anyone to balance that, let alone a 32-year-old in his first experience. And so to kind of watch him just deflect as much as possible, it's encouraging, I think, because it shows that he has some perspective. It shows that he has some idea of what it would take to be a success. Does that mean it's going to work out? Absolutely not. But at least he's taking the right approach, trying to get it to work out.
A couple Twitter questions and a couple more subjects from Paul Winkles. If Wiggins' play continues as it has been, what do you do long term? He's untradeable for 4 years. Benching would be a huge black eye for Glenn, but if the goal is to win, something ultimately must be done. Advanced stats put him as less valuable than the league average.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think I have been one of Wiggins' defenders over the years. I have fully acknowledged that he has to play better, but I was sort of always fighting against the narrative that he's just terrible. Like I don't believe he's a terrible player, but I will say over the last week and a half or so, it's my view on where he is and what he's doing has soured. I think everyone looked at the Oklahoma City game and thought, okay, he's away from Tibbs. Mm-hmm. He's got a coach that supports him. Maybe this is going to be the coming out party. And since then, it has been just one underwhelming performance after another. I mean, last night against the Suns, I think he was 2 for 13 at one point. He may have finished 4 for 14. And he just is not even there. And sooner or later, as I said, and I was never one that blamed Tibbs for Andrew. Like I couldn't make that direct connection. But what I said once Saunders was put in place is that there's almost no more excuses anymore for Andrew Wiggins. He has to eventually rise up and be that guy, or else after Sam Mitchell, after Flip as a rookie, then Sam, then Tibbs, now it's Ryan. And when you're going into like coach number 4 and the same issues continue to come up, then you got to look in the mirror, man, and you got to take there's got to be some real accountability there. And I just don't know that there has been enough accountability yet from him. And I think he's incredibly smart. I think that that he just has not acknowledged his role in
his importance.
Yeah, why this isn't working. And there's no question that right now it is not working. And they could try to move him, but again, it's going to be hard to move that contract and get anything even remotely of value back for him. So they're in a very, very tough spot with Andrew Wiggins. You want to see the light bulb come on, and it just hasn't.
3 for 14 from the field, but you can have a bad shooting night. Here's what I always look at when I see him have a bad game. 40 minutes or 39 minutes, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks for the guy who might be the best athlete on the court. Yeah,
and look, what I will say is in the fourth quarter, he came up with a couple of very big rebounds that they needed, which was something. But again, it's like we're always trying to, or I personally am always seemingly bending over backward to let him off the hook a little. Well, he did get a couple of rebounds in big spots. Well, he did do this, he did do that. But the bottom line is that you're a max contract player. You are supposed to do that. It reminds me of the Chris Rock stand-up routine where he's like, he's talking about, people wanting to get credit. He says,
I took my kids to school.
I took care of my kids. You're supposed to take care of your kids. What do you want, a cookie? Like, that's what people, a superstar or a max contract player is supposed to get big rebounds and big moments. Is supposed to take the ball to the basket. It shouldn't be a revelation. And so, like, that's the thing with Andrew is you are. This is what you're expected to do. This shouldn't be celebrated. This shouldn't be, nobody should throw a parade for him because he made a couple free throws, even though he missed a bunch of key free throws last night. He's not. He needs to be treated with the kind of accountability and expectations that someone of a fifth year in the NBA, making the money that he makes, with the talent that he has, needs to be treated with. And I've tried to kind of be as patient as I can and look for other reasons that it isn't working or look on the bright side, but it's getting harder and harder to look on the bright side with him.
Chris Pregler asks, any update on Covington?
So we were in Philadelphia last week, and he was still not doing anything on the court. I don't think he's a whole lot closer right now. He has not really done anything on the court. He is so I would say, from the original injury, I was told somewhere in the 4 to 6 week range, and I think it's going to be all of that. You still see him walking around, and he looks like he's walking around kind of gingerly still. So I don't think that anything with him is right around the corner. And man, when they're missing Robert Covington and Tyus Jones in the same game, you really do see a major drop off in defense, just awareness, playmaking that way. And so it has really hurt them having him out, and now Tyus Jones is probably a week away yet from coming back. And so when you don't have those two, you just lose so much in basketball IQ, in instincts, in defensive adjustments and things like that. They're in a tough spot right now.
From Nikolai, at what point does somebody go to Glenn about Wiggins' convincement isn't working? So I guess we already talked about Wiggins enough. What's Glenn's role here?
Well, I mean, Glenn can be as upset as he wants to be, but you're kind of are where you are. Like, yeah. It's a matter of, you're not going to just amnesty him. You can't, and send him away. Like, you have to, if you want to even make a deal, you have to find a willing partner. Now, there might be one or two GMs out there who would try and take on him, but it won't happen probably before the July free agency feeding frenzy. For any teams that maybe miss out on a big star and really want to make a move, maybe they would look at Andrew Wiggins and see if they could get something out of him that the Wolves haven't. But again, you're not going to get, fair value for him or anything like that. And so I do understand why Glenn, why Tibbs when he was here, why whoever is going to be the GM going forward, it would say, look, our best chance to be more than just an 8 seed is to find a way to reach Andrew Wiggins. Like that, they really have not many other choices right now than to keep trying with him rather than totally give up, because giving up does them zero good. So Glenn could be at his Mankato office right now saying, I have to get rid of Andrew Wiggins. I've had enough of it. But if you can't find anybody to take him for anything even remotely attractive, then you got to keep going with what you got.
Nicole V. asked about the timeline for Tyus and Covington. I think you already answered that, but a good question. Thank you. From Jeff Thompson. Let me skip ahead here. From Jerome Jordan. The Doris Burke thing on Wiggins went viral. What were your thoughts on what she said?
Well,
and P.S. She's right.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Doris a lot before the broadcasts, and we were kind of comparing notes, and